It cost me $100,000 in losing bets to learn exactly what I'm about to show you guys in this YouTube video for free. Now, when it comes to sports betting, there's three things that I realized of my rise to being successful in sports betting throughout the years that were detrimental to me being able to level up. Okay? And it had to do with a lot of things mentally. Okay? And I'm going to teach you guys that today and show you exactly what I mean when it comes to mentally preparing yourself to set yourself up for success when it comes to sports betting. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is emotions. Emotions, very important, okay? Now, the reason why this is important is because your everyday bettor, when you place one bet and you, lose that bet, what happens mentally? Mentally, you start to think, oh man, I got to get my money back. All right, I got to recoup this loss right away. So what do you end up doing? You end up doubling up your next bet, okay, to try to recoup this loss here. Because emotionally, your brain is telling you what? Your brain's telling you that you need to double up in order to win back that money that you lost. Now, why is this the wrong way to think? Because if you don't have the right strategy in place and you don't know what you're doing, you're just blindly doubling up on another bet. So now let me show you what happens when you just blindly double up on another bet. Now, when you just blindly double up on another bet, and let's say you lose that one now. Now where are you at emotionally? Now you're really snowballing, right? Now you're like, I need to recoup the double up and the single bet. So now I'm going to go probably 4 times my bet here to try to recoup both of these losses, right? You're trying to recoup both. Then you end up what? Losing this one. Now you're completely done, all right? Emotionally, you're checked out. What are you going to do? You're probably going to risk at least half your bankroll in this process. Okay? You're going to at least risk half your bankroll in this process trying to recoup one single loss that you ended up having. And what ends up happening here, because it happens to everybody, it's happened to me when I first started sports betting, that I had to learn. Once that snowball starts going, you can't control it, okay? Because you're mentally screwed. Now, if you've lost half of your bankroll, going and putting one bet in the next day isn't going to make you feel right emotionally, because now you're still down half your bankroll. So you've already screwed yourself with your mindset because you've lost half your bankroll snowballing your bets and chasing your losses. So now you have no idea what to do other than risk the rest of your bankroll. So now when you risk the rest of your bankroll, all right, let's say you went through this process on day one right here, you lost all of it. So what are you going to do? You're going to take one bet the next day and you're going to put the rest of that bankroll on there. And what happens? Most of the time, you end up losing, all right? And then you have absolutely nothing left over. This is the process of a losing sports bettor, and emotionally, this is how they get trapped in the emotions. This can all literally happen in one day if you don't know how to keep your emotions in check. So now I'm going to show you guys the example of what you need to be doing when it comes to, emotions, and when this starts to happen, when this loop starts to happen. Now, to avoid that loop, there is a 2-step process pretty much that you need to do to be able to ensure that you're not going to tilt, you're not going to chase your losses. This is what you really need to do. First thing is going to be put all your bets in. Prior to the first game. All right, what does that do? What does this do? Putting all your bets in prior to the first game and just knocking it out means that, let's say you have 5 or 7 bets that you were looking at throughout the day, and that's what you wanted to end up going with. You're going to go with, and you're going to bet all those at once. The reason why is because now you're not dictating on what happens in that first game, how you approach the next ones. So if you just bet them all and you just relax for the day now you just sit back and you don't sit there and check every single game of what's going on and having to replace your bet because you have, 5 or 7 bets throughout the day, then you could sit and actually just let the results play out. You can let the results play out and you don't tilt in that very day. Now, second thing, let's say that you go through and let's just say you have a losing day. Okay? Here's the thing. The best possible thing to do is to put your phone away and go to sleep. Now this might sound funny, right? This might sound funny. It might sound like, oh, well, that's so you make it sound so simple. It is that simple, okay? Because you got to go to sleep sometime, right? At night, got to go to bed. Take your phone, put it away, no matter what happens prior. Whatever happened is going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. But once you go to bed, I don't know what it is, but this right here, once you go to sleep, the next day, you feel refreshed and ready to go. I don't know what it is. All right, something about just going to bed. You wake up the next day, you're not thinking about what happened that prior day. You feel like you're refreshed. It's a new day. Okay, and you're not going to make some stupid mistake. Okay, and you're not going to lose all of your money in one bet, no matter really what happened that prior day. You feel like it's a new day, and then you stay consistent with it, and then you go right back to it again. That is very important when it comes to emotions, because you have to understand, if you do not keep your emotions in check, if you don't understand that, I can't chase my bets. If you chase your bets, you're going to lose all of your money. It happens every single time. It happened to me so many times early on in sports betting where I would get mad at that next game and I would double up and then triple and then half the bankroll, then all the bankroll, and then gone. It happens so many times. It happens to so many people on a daily basis. But if you use that little two-step that I just showed you there, putting your bets in prior, all of them, and single bets. Now I'm not talking about putting 5, 10 parlays. I'm talking about putting in single bets. You put those in prior to the first game starting, and then you let it ride out. And then depending on how you feel at the end of the night, what happens, guess what? You're still going to sleep. So you just go to sleep. Whether you had a winning day or a losing day, you go to bed. You wake up the next day, and you do it all over again. Now let's talk about the next thing that was the most important thing that I learned rising from being a losing sports bettor up to being successful. Now this has to do with money. It's the most important aspect of your sports betting, right? Because if you don't have it, you can't make anything with it. But you have to have the right mentality when it comes to money and understand how you make your money work for you and you don't get greedy. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that. Let's talk about money. All right? This is the difference between somebody that's going to be successful and somebody that's not. Okay? Let's say you have a $10,000 bankroll. All right? $10,000 bankroll. Your unit size is, let's say you're doing 3%. Let's say it's $300. Okay? Let's say another person has a $1,000 bankroll. Their unit size is $30. All right? The mentality here is completely different when they win. Okay? If you use the strategy that I have taught, the strategy of being able to bet higher odds because you have a higher probability of winning, this is the mentality that you get here. Okay? This person bets $300 and let's say they end up winning $150 because that was the odds for the play. Okay? $150 on any given day is solid. You make $150, you're happy. There's some people that have to go to work for 8 hours, okay, to make $150. You can make that in one bet. This person here bet $30. They ended up making $15. What happens here? This person is not satisfied. All right? They're not satisfied. Why? Because they made $15. $15 is not much to them. That's what they think, right? They think $15 is not much to them, but they don't understand. They only have this amount of money to work with. Okay? Why is it that this person's satisfied with having that? It's the same predicament here, just on a larger proportion. This person right here would be satisfied with $150 a day, but this person is not satisfied with $15 a day. And then your sports books attack this person because they know they're not satisfied with that. So instead of them winning $15, they're going to take $30, put it on a 5-legger or whatnot that's going to pretty much not going to ever win, okay? And they want to be able to times their money by 10 or whatnot and turn that 30 into $300 as a possibility. This is where they're happy, okay? They're happy to put in a play that's going to produce this, but guess what happens? They donate the $30 every single time. They just keep losing, okay? They just keep on losing. And this is where the sportsbooks make all their money. They make all their money off of these people right here that have a $1,000 bankroll. As in, somebody that has 10 grand and is betting like this and making $150 on per bet, they're satisfied and they're happy. Why are they happy? Because they understand that the more money you have, the better, obviously, the game is going to be and the easier that it's going to be. But it's the same exact thing, okay? It's the same exact thing, just on a progressive scale. Obviously, the more money you have, the more money you can make. But mentally, somebody that only has $1,000 doesn't understand they only deserve to make $15, $20 per bet off of their bets because you only have that amount of money that's going to dictate that. If you have 10 grand, if you have $100,000, and like I said, we're taking that example from 300 to 3,000, and that person's making $1,500 per play that they put in and they end up winning, they're really satisfied with that, even with a $100,000 bankroll, because people that have money saved, that have a huge bankroll, understand I'm just going to make small increments and add it to my bankroll. Somebody with a lower bankroll is thinking they're going to make a 100% return, which is unrealistic. You're not going to get a quick double up. That's not what this game is about. People that have that mindset of thinking their money is going to be a quick double up in a night or two are the people that lose, because that is gambling. Gambling is, I'm going to get a quick double up real quick. I want to flip a coin for $100 and see if I can make $200. That is gambling. Investing is having thousands and thousands of dollars and investing that, knowing that you're just going to make small increments of money and add it to that overall bankroll. So let me show you the difference here of like stock market wise of what people think and sports betting wise with people with smaller bankrolls, what they think. So again, let's talk about the person that has a $10,000 bankroll. All right, let's say they go into the stock market and over the whole entire year, $10,000 into the stock market, they make what, 10% on that, so they end up making $1,000. Okay, they end their year with $11,000. Doesn't seem like much, right? Doesn't seem like much whatsoever. But this person is actually satisfied with that, okay? Because they understand the concept of having a decent amount of money and making a small amount of money and adding that to this. Because now guess what? Next year, what do they have to play with? All right, next year they're going to start with $11,000. All right, again, let's go to the person with $1,000. They make 10%. What is that, $100? So they make $1,100 in the whole entire year, or they make $100 in the whole entire year. They end with $1,100. What happens here? Not satisfied. They don't understand that they thought this was a complete waste of time. Instead, for them to try to get that return of that double up, you know, if they want to get that quick double up and try to get to 2,000, they really risk that 1,000, and guess what happens? They end up losing it all. And then at the end of the year, let's go down here. They got to start the new year off. They don't have anything. Okay? This is the difference between somebody that understands how to make money and somebody who understands how to gamble their money and end up losing all of their money. They'd rather risk their $1,000 at a chance at getting 2,000 and lose it all rather than trying to get little increments here and there and actually end up making money. Okay? Yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot, but then guess what? The next year they start with $1,100, and the year after that they start with 13 or 14, and then it's 15, and it's 2,000. Then it's the same concept here, and that's what people understand in the investing world. Okay, so use your money to invest instead of gamble. All right, which everybody gets a rap thinking sports betting is a gamble. It is if you think like this person. It's not if you think like this person. It's that simple. The emotions and the money are some of the most important things that you need to understand when it comes to sports betting. Because if you don't understand to keep your emotions in check and have the right money and have the right mindset to manage your money and know what you should gain from the money that you have over long term and be satisfied and not greedy and think, I need to double up in a couple months. Nobody gets those type of returns consistently long term, okay? You don't double up every 3 days your bankroll. That doesn't happen. Does not happen. You might get lucky and it might happen to you once in a while, but that mindset will screw you up and then you'll lose everything. Similar to when somebody takes $100 into a slot machine and wins $3,000-$4,000. Now, over that long term, they're going to donate more than $3,000 or $4,000 chasing that original feeling, trying to get that feeling back of winning $3,000 to $4,000 off $100. And lifetime, they end up losing more than $10,000 and then they end up in a hole. It happens every time. Sports betting is no different. You have to treat it like an investment, like a business. If you don't, like most of the clowns that are out there that have no idea what to do and they live daily, emotionally daily, like I need to double up today. If I don't, then I'm done with sports betting. That is clown work, okay? That's clown work. That's clown thinking. Those are the people that are going to be in life, have nothing, and they're going to be on the side of the road mostly begging for money, or they're going to be selling everything that they own to try to get that next double up. Don't be one of those people. Now, let's talk about the next thing that's most important. It's consistency, all right? Something that a lot of people lack, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how you can avoid being so lackluster when it comes to consistency. Now, if you guys want me to teach you exactly the strategies that you need to be successful, to actually win week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out, make sure you guys click the link down in the description. It's that simple. Okay, you click the link in the description and guess what? It's going to take you to a video that shows you exactly how to be able to produce 70 to 80% winners on the daily basis. All right, and then from there, if you think that you can work with me and you can handle it, you'll click the link in that video. Okay, it's that simple. So don't get flustered, but this is one thing that you need to know. If you're going to work with me, I only work with people that understand the concept of money, how to keep their emotions in check, and how to stay consistent. Exactly what it is that I'm teaching you in this video. So now let's go ahead and let's talk about the consistency factor when it comes to sports betting. Consistent. What does this mean when it comes to sports betting? This means you do not take long breaks because of your emotions, all right? Because like I said in the emotions when I was talking about that, sometimes what happens is you end up tapping out half your bankroll and then you end up losing, too much money and then you want to take a break. I'll come back later or whatnot. You don't have to do that, okay? You can stay consistent by being able to manage your bankroll. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that you can't take a day off. You can definitely take a day off, but you can take a day off when it aligns with your strategy. Okay? So how do you take a day off and still stay consistent? All right. It's when the strategy that you have in place doesn't have anything to play. All right. Let's say you go ahead and you go through your strategy for the day and there's not too much going on. You have certain things going on and whatnot in certain sports, but nothing really stands out. Nothing really gives you the highest probability. You're not seeing anything like that. That is when you can take a day to relax because you're not really missing too much. Now, on a Saturday, when you have 5 or 6 high probability plays that you need to get down and you're thinking of taking the day off, that's not when you take a day off. Okay? You can't take a day off then. You can take a day off probably middle of the week most of the time on a day, like I said, that maybe you just don't find anything. And if you think you need to bet every single day and you think you need to get a certain bet down because something's on TV, That is not investing. That's not doing it the correct way. That's having a gambling problem because you need to bet on something so you can watch it on TV. So remember that. If you need to bet on something to watch it on TV, which happens to a lot of sports bettors, that's a gambling issue. That's not part of making money. That is entertaining yourself. So if you're going to bet like that, that's okay as well, but that's for somebody that just wants to do it for entertainment, not to make money. Okay? And then guess what? You're probably going to lose that bet that you watch on TV, and then you're going to feel pissed off the next day, all right? Because you didn't know how to do it correctly, or you didn't find something in that game that was worth betting on. So, like I said before, when it comes down to it, staying consistent means doing it every single day, and also, when it comes down to the certain plays, if one of them doesn't line up or a couple don't line up, that is when you can take a day off, okay? You can't take day off on holidays just because they're holidays. If there are plays that need to be made that are high probability plays, for you to stay consistent, you have to get those down. The only time to take the day off is when you don't have something in the strategy. It's that simple. That's the only time you can take off, okay? Other than that, you got to stay consistent. You got to do this every single day and be able to get your bets down. Now, another thing you got to realize when staying consistent is also the type of plays that you're doing. Okay, sometimes this could mess people up in the brain, and I don't really understand why. So let's say I put these two type of odds down real quick. All right, boom and boom. You look at those, what do you think? It's the same bet, right? If you look at those for the odds, those are the odds, and you think, well, that's the same exact bet. Okay, but here's what you don't realize. Let's say this play right here is a prop, but this play right here is a money line. It doesn't matter. Okay? Doesn't matter what it is. Look at the odds. They are the exact same. They're still the same. But a lot of people would prefer betting on the money line. Why? For the excitement. All right? That's what they would prefer. They prefer betting here, but they don't realize it's the same stuff. Okay? Doesn't matter. If you're betting a prop or you're betting a money line, it's the same thing. Same concept here, money-wise. So to stay consistent, you have to understand that as well. You can't just be like, oh, I want to bet a money line play because I want to predict who's going to win the game. That's not what that's for. That's for excitement, okay? It does not matter if it's a prop, money line, total, spread, no matter what it is. If the odds are going to dictate, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You have to realize that, okay? You can't think, because I've worked with a lot of people that sometimes they'll get frustrated because on a daily basis, it'll be nothing but this type of play, the prop plays, okay? But they want to play money line plays. They want something to know, like, oh, what team is going to win the game? Doesn't matter. Who gives a shit what team wins the game? If you have the same odds, it don't matter what bet you do. Okay, so stay consistent with understanding that your odds is what dictates what you need to play, not whether it be in a money line play, a total spread, or it's a prop or whatnot. Your money lines and your spreads and everything like that, you could still obviously play those. Okay, you could still play that stuff, but it needs to make sense. Okay, it needs to make sense. If this play right here has an 80% probability to win, but this one here has a 65% probability to win, which one are you going with? You're going with the prop play, right? Because that's got the higher probability. You're not going with the money line because you want excitement and you want to know who's going to win the game. Okay, it's that simple. Stay consistent with this mindset. Okay, don't get it conflicted, thinking that you need to know who's going to win the game. That's for excitement purposes. That's not for making money. All right? You want to make money, you change your mindset and you think exactly how it is that I am teaching you in this video. Now again, like I said before, it cost me $100,000 in the beginning of my sports betting career to learn these three factors that I taught you in this video today. Your emotions, keep them in check. Money, you need it to make money. Don't get greedy. The more money you have, the more money you can make. It's obvious, okay? If you have no money, then your mindset is going to dictate that you need to be doubling up and whatnot to be able to create something. That's not how it goes. Everybody started somewhere. So you have to start with a small amount of money. It is what it is. If you could start with 100 grand, then it's more power to you, right? But money makes money. And when you get greedy, that's when money disappears. Consistency. Stay consistent with what you're doing on a daily basis. As long as you could do this day in and day out with the right strategy in place, you're going to profit. You're going to make money, okay? If you don't know what you're doing, and you're trying to stay consistent, most likely if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to stay consistent because you're going to be losing. And then when you're losing, you're not going to make any money. And then what happens? You end up getting frustrated and you give up. So if you want to learn these 3 things, exactly how to do this the right way with the right strategy, like I said, book a call in the link down below. All right. Once you book a call with my team and we're able to see that you're a good fit to work with me, and I teach you exactly everything that I know to get you to be one of the best sports bettors that you will ever know, make sure you guys click the link in the description. And remember, if you have an edge, then every bet becomes a winning opportunity. As always, guys, I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video.